All right, good afternoon. This is Jory Vandenberg, the 388 Fighter Wing historian. I'm conducting interviews at the 388th Bombardment Group Heavy Association. This is their 63rd annual reunion being conducted at Savannah, Georgia. And today is 30 August 2012. Today I'm beginning an interview with the following individual. And your name, sir, please identify.
My name is Donald Scott.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott. Where was your, I want to kind of get some background information and where you were, where you are, and how you got yourself through the Air Force or the United States Army Air Forces, and then what you did after that. Okay, but to begin with, what was your hometown?
My hometown was Stuart, 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 Virginia.
Okay, and so you're kind of born and raised there. What was your rank and job with the 388th Bombardment Group? What rank did you have, and what job?
Well, I ended up. And started out as a radio operator.
Okay.
Radio operator gunner, but primarily I was the radio operator on this airplane.
Okay.
And what was the other part of the question?
What was your rank?
My rank was staff sergeant.
Okay, so you're staff sergeant.
Yes.
Radio operator was your primary duty, and then you also was a gunner. Which gunner position did you do?
Well, the radio room, in the beginning, it had a gun mounted in the top of the radio room, the roof.
Up in the roof.
It was pointed aft.
Okay.
And so I went to radio school just like I did, and gunnery school just like I did radio school, but except for the two pilots, all of the crew members had some sort of a gunnery training because everybody had a gun. That B-17 was loaded with 50 caliber machine guns.
Okay. All righty. Well, let me ask you this: when and where did you enter service? What time?
I had an odd beginning. I was a student at Virginia Polytechnic Institute, Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech.
And I became 21 years old, and the graph board was after me.
Okay.
And so at that time there was a program called Enlisted Reserve. So I enlisted in that reserve, which was supposed to allow me to finish school and then report for active military service.
Okay.
But it didn't work that way.
It didn't work out that way. They changed the rules on you.
Right. At the end of my second year, I received orders to report for active military duty.
Okay. And when was that? What year was that?
That was in April of 1943.
Okay. April 4th. So that's when you went into active duty?
That's right.
Okay. And then where did you initially go for your training? What training did you read?
Well, of course, in the beginning, I was assigned to Fort Meade, Maryland, for things like issue of uniform, physical examinations, and a lot of aptitude type testing to see what they were going to do with me, I guess. And at that time I was, I'll back up a little bit, and at Virginia Tech I was in Coast Artillery, ROTC. So I thought the Army would probably put me in the anti-aircraft battalion or something like that. Oh, but of course, I don't think they had coastal artillery back then. Anyway, they didn't do that. They needed aerial gunners.
Okay.
This country was, the Air Force was losing a lot of B-17 bombers in Germany. And they needed crews, especially gunners. So after they had given me a physical, I noticed on the paperwork they had stamped on there, qualified aerial gunner.
Okay.
And of course there was a little rumor going around at that time that the lifespan of a gunner in combat was measured in so many seconds. Didn't sound too good, but anyway, from there I went to basic training in Miami Beach, Florida. That was pretty good.
Okay, that's a
duty
tough
down
gig,
there, on the beach. And there I received further classification and was, since I was in electrical engineering curriculum at college, they put me into radio school
Okay.
at Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay.
And
About what time do you remember you getting to there? By the time you got to radio tech school at Sioux Falls, do you remember what time frame that was?
that was along about July of 1943, and I was in there for quite a few weeks, and I was shipped out of there in late December of 43.
Okay. And then where did you go from there?
From there, I went to Yuma, Arizona Gunnery School,
Okay.
flexible gunnery, and there I took the gunnery training
Okay.
on the B-17.
All right. So you're getting trained up on that
Yes.
weapon platform.
And after that, I was sent to Tampa, Florida, Drew Field, for operational crew training,
Okay.
combat crew training. There, 10 of us were brought in and formed into a crew.
Okay.
10-man crew for the B-17.
Okay. Were you assigned to the 388th at that time, or was that
No,
just assembling
that
the
was
crew
a
together?
training squadron. The
Okay.
388 is owned purely over in England.
Yes, sir. This is just establishing a crew team to begin with.
Yes, right.
A generic.
Yes,
Assignment, okay.
crew training, and we trained together as a crew
Okay.
for the first time, and we flew practice missions, you know.
Okay.
And got quite a few flying hours,
All right.
flying down over Florida and the Gulf
Okay.
of Mexico. We flew even over Cuba. Anyway, after that, we were ready, you might say, to go overseas. And so we were shipped to Hunter Field, right here in near Savannah.
Okay.
We're on our way.
On the one en route to Nettishaw. By this time, you know that you're going to be assigned to the 388.
No, we
No?
had no
You still hadn't even
idea.
gotten orders for that
We
yet?
had no idea of what bomb group we would
Okay.
end up in, but we didn't tell us exactly where we were going. Whether we knew we were going to leave from the New York port, so we pretty well knew we were going to the
Okay, so you're going to go over in a
Theater.
boat? Go over in a boat?
Yeah,
Okay.
we on a boat. Most of them were assigned to a new plane, and they flew that plane over, but they didn't have
Well, not
enough
yet.
planes for us, so we were put on a boat and went over by boat.
Okay, do you remember about the date that you got on the boat to go over? Do you remember what that date frame was?
That was
Is that before
early-
the Normandy D-Day invasion?
Well,
or after?
this was after. that.
After, okay.
That had already taken place. That was in June.
June of 44, yes, sir.
And we went along in early July.
Okay,
You were put on the HMS Aquitania.
okay. That was the sister ship to the Lusitania
I guess it
and
was.
sister ship to the
I
Titanic.
think it even hauled World War I troops over there.
Yes, sir.
It was a fast boat, and it didn't have to go over in convoy for protection from the German submarines. It went over by itself, but it zigzagged across, so the German subs couldn't get aim
Okay.
at it. And we got over in about, I don't know, 5 days. And we ended up in, first in Scotland, Firth of Clyde, I believe it was called. up
Okay.
there. And then we would put my train down into England, and we ended up in Nettishaw, 388th Bomb Group, the home of the 388th.
Okay. And so that was maybe by the end of July of 1944?
Yes.
Okay, all righty. And then from there, do you remember the names of your crew members?
I think I do.
Okay. Could you tell me the names of your crew members? Like
Oh.
you were the radio,
I'm a
Top man.
radio operator. Well, I'll start with the pilot. Michael, co-pilot Joe Wakus, bombardier Dick Perla,
okay,
navigator Joe Stackra. But then there's all those gunners,
the gunners. You had-
us gunners.
okay, you had the two waist gunners and
We
the
got
tail
two
gunners.
waist gunners. One of them was Sweeney.
Okay,
Yeah, and but the other one, when we got over to England, this was getting sort of late in the war, and the Luftwaffe was sort of under control, you might say, and we weren't having a big problem with German fighters. So they took one of the waist gunners off the crew, and we was left with one waist gunner.
okay,
Theoretically, I was told, in case of fighter attack, the radio operator, was supposed to run back to that spare gun.
okay.
But
Instead of
that-
using the one up on top, because you already had a turret gunner, right?
The what?
Instead of doing that Top Gun that was right over your
Yeah,
waist?
that wasn't.
They removed
exactly
those,
a
didn't
target. It was a flexible fix.
Yes, sir.
But you could swing it on both sides of the tail. But like I say, we ended up with a 9-man crew.
Okay.
And Sweeney was one of the waist gunner that was left. Bald Hurt gunner was Red Purdom. The top turret gunner, the flight engineer, was what was his name? White.
White, okay.
White. His name was White. Tail gunner was, he's still living. We're the two that's still living.
Okay.
Was tail gunner Malnick, Mike Malnick. He lives in Flint, Michigan. We send each other Christmas cards.
Okay.
So that's
that was
the
your
whole crew. I did mention the Bald Hurt, Purdom.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
So that was your.
That was 9 of us.
And that was your whole crew, the entire tour? That you were there from July
Yes,
44 to when y'all came back?
Yeah.
And do you remember the date time that y'all came back? When y'all got, did you come back in a bomber or did y'all come back on a ship, Liberty ship? Do you remember when
I
that?
came back in a Liberty ship.
Okay, yeah, most people came back. Do you remember the time frame of that?
Yes. I was liberated from the German prison system.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. You were. Tell me about that. Let's talk about that. I mean, I hate to say, what was I was fixing to ask you, what was your most interesting or memorable
event?
event?
Story by itself. I've told that.
Okay, let's. Why don't you tell me that story? How did you become a POW in World
All
War
right.
II?
I'll play you my record.
Okay, what was the mission you guys went on, Tom? What was the target?
Okay.
And what happened on that mission?
That mission was the 11th mission on September the 28th, 1944.
Okay.
The target was Mersburg, Germany.
Okay.
Synthetic oil refineries.
Okay.
Where that particular mission started off bad for me. As a radio operator, one of the things I had to do was to plug in the power cord to a piece of equipment called a, what's it called? Anyway, it sent out signals.
It's like a transponder?
Yes, you got it. It was like a transponder, but it wasn't called that. And
It was that kind of a
I'll
function.
think about it.
Okay.
I'll think of it.
Okay.
It was used when the formation of bombers came back from a mission and crossed the British coast.
Okay.
The British could interrogate it, and it would tell it would identify our plane as to enemy or friend.
Okay.
Friend or foe.
Friend or foe, that's right.
There you go. So I had to plug that thing in because it had an inertia switch that would trigger an explosive charge in there that would destroy the thing. It was a secret, classified as secret,
Yes, sir.
and it would destroy this unit to keep it from getting in many enemy hands in case of it crashed in enemy territory.
Okay.
Well, I plugged that power cord into that thing, and I had to do that just as soon as the plane became airborne on takeoff. And ELT, that's about right.
ELT?
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Yeah. Anyway, when I plugged that thing in, the unit exploded.
Exploded.
It
Popped.
yeah, I was right, not far from where I was standing there. That sounded like a shotgun blast. And smoke and some flames were coming out of that thing. And we were just had taken off and were climbing out. And by the time I got to the forward bulkhead and got the fire extinguisher and got back, the flame had gone out, but it was still smoking. Anyway, I got on the intercom and called the pilot and says, "Hey, this unit has exploded." And so like I say, this unit didn't come into use unless we were going over the British coast,
Yes, sir.
singly out of formation with the rest of the planes.
Okay.
So the pilot made this decision that we don't normally have to use that thing. We'll go without it, keep working.
Okay.
And we can ride back with the rest of the formation, and we don't even need it. So he continued on. We climbed out and got in formation with other planes, and climbed up to altitude, and we headed out across the English Channel and the coast there of Belgium, and at that time, I don't know whether you want all of these details or not, but we were subject to enemy aircraft, fire, anti-aircraft.
They had anti-aircraft where they were shooting up flak.
So we put on our flak vests, and we had gotten on oxygen at 10,000 feet, and we proceeded to cross Belgium towards Germany.
And you're heading towards Marsburg?
Mersburg, Germany. And
how long did it take y'all to get to Mersburg as far as flight time?
Oh,
Remember?
probably 2 hours.
Okay.
That's pretty far over in Germany.
All right. And when did you start getting the flak? Was that
Was
that in Belgium or once you got into actually Germany, closer to the target?
Mostly when we got into the Germany itself.
Okay.
The Germans were in Belgium, but as the further we got into the Germany, the heavier the flak.
Okay.
And you could see the black puffs of smoke.
Yes, sir.
I had a little window that I could look out. on the radio room, and you could see the puffs of black smoke, but it was off to the side. And here's another thing that I was having. One of my duties was to, we had been briefed ahead of time to where I expect this flak,
Okay.
heavy flak.
So you kind of knew beforehand.
And at that time, it was my duty to put out chaff. You know what chaff is?
Chaff, yes, sir. To kind of
That's-
help. It's kind of
It-
reflective material.
It put out a false echo to the German radar-directed flak guns. And so you'd see that stuff, black smoke, out way off to the side there. And so we proceeded, like I say, on to
Okay.
Mercersburg, and closer we got, the heavier the flak became, and we got to the bomb run, and because that's when the bombardier takes over and
Yes,
flies
sir.
the plane and drops the bombs, and so that stuff was coming up at us hot and heavy. And the closer we got into the target, the closer to the plane, all these explosions, and in addition to, overtopped the sound of the engines, we started hearing the explosions of the flak. They were coming that close. And we dropped our bombs I think we salvoed them with the rest of the plane. They just dropped them all at the same time.
Okay.
And on the target. And we were pulling away from the target. And we were at 27,000 feet. And one explosion, louder than all the rest. We were hit.
Okay.
And the first thing, I was busy putting out that chaff, but what had happened, had been flying above the clouds all the way, and the Germans couldn't see us. They were flying by radar.
Okay.
And as soon as we got off, we dropped the bombs and got away from the target, the clouds below us opened up, and they started shooting at us visually.
Okay.
And boy, they were hitting us.
Even
That's
got
when
more
they
from-
hit us. And like I say, one explosion louder than the rest. And first thing that happened to me, like I say, I was busy, real busy putting out that chaff out of that chute. And all of a sudden, when that explosion, I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I done lost my oxygen
Okay.
completely. And
Airplane wide, all of the people.
the airplane was still flying straight and level.
Okay.
It wasn't in the dive, it wasn't in the spin, but it was still straight and level. But the airplane was losing airspeed.
Okay.
We had lost 2 engines, and the third one was damaged. And
So you're just down to one engine.
yeah,
Or
one
one
good
full
engine.
engine.
Was, theoretically, it was
Okay.
good. It was an overworked engine.
Okay.
And we
You're starting to lose altitude at this point.
started losing
Pretty quick.
altitude, and I couldn't. The intercom was dead. Couldn't talk to the pilot or anybody. My radio was dead. Then
What about
we
the rest?
were still making some forward motion,
Okay.
but we were at the same time losing some altitude.
Right.
And like I say, I couldn't talk to the pilot or anybody else because the intercom was dead.
Okay.
But we had a emergency system, which we were told in case of emergency, you can switch over to the side tone of the short distance radio, command radio that the pilot uses to talk to the pilot or talk to other airplanes. So I switched over to that, and I heard the pilot say, "Hey, Red, do you see any fire under those engines?" Red was a ball turret gunner. He was down
Okay.
below where he can see the underside of the. Well, Red had done come up out of that ball turret a long time ago when he lost oxygen. And nobody down there. And fortunately, there was no fire, but the engines, the dead engines were windmilling and
Okay.
getting hot, and they were smoking and causing the flame to vibrate. And so we were still making some forward progress, but losing altitude. And the pilot, he had his side window had been shattered, and the bits of glass cut his eyes, and he was temporarily blinded.
Okay.
And the co-pilot was fine. The plane, similar thing happened to the top turret gunner. His plexiglass dome of the turret had been hit, and bits of that glass cut his eyes.
Okay.
And he was temporarily blinded. At the same time, he lost oxygen. Did I say, when I lost oxygen, I swapped my oxygen hose to my mouth over to the opposite side of the plane where there was another oxygen line, and the gauge was showing a little bit, some oxygen in that
Okay.
system, so I managed to get over on that. Some of the rest of the crew got plugged into what was called walk-around oxygen bottles.
Okay.
Until we got low enough to where we didn't need oxygen. Anyway, this top turret gunner, he was in trouble because not only did he lose oxygen, he didn't have his chest parachute on. In that top turret, there's not room enough for a chest parachute to be on, so he had it down at his feet on the floor. So he was fumbling down, coming down out of that turret. When he lost oxygen, he accidentally pulled the handle on his parachute, and it opened right down there.
Not a good sign.
He was really in trouble. And we opened up the camera hatch in the bottom of the radio room, and we started throwing out stuff that was loose, like flak vests and radio equipment and ammunition and boxes of chaff. Still, we were losing altitude, and anyway.
At what point did the pilot or the co-pilot order abandon the ship? When did that happen?
Okay. They started like we were getting sort of low.
Yes, sir.
And we didn't know where we were. The navigator didn't know. He lost his equipment, and he thought we were heading in a general direction of England. We hoped we were, and make it as far as occupied Allied territory on the continent.
Okay.
But so we started really getting low, and the pilot and co-pilot, the ones that could see, looking for a place that we could crash land.
Yeah, because at least one guy's not going to be able to bail out.
Yeah, and first he looking, and he looked, and it was hilly country we were flying over, and no place, a good place to crash land. So they made the decision to have us bail out.
Okay.
And so he rang the bell out by alarm bell.
Okay.
And here came the flight engineer with his parachute gathered up in his arms, come back through the back of the plane, the fuselage, and to that hatch back there just forward of the tail. And he jumped out and turned it, and he cleared the plane, and he turned it loose, and it opened.
Open. Lucky guy.
Yeah. And then the waist gunner went out next, and then it was my time. I made sure that the parachute, the little flap there, the cable was connected to something inside. I unsnapped it, and it was, and I jumped out, and I hit the slipstream, flipped over on my back, and I could see the tail of the plane going on.
Okay.
And I said, well, it's time to see how this parachute's going to work. So I pulled the handle, and I received one terrific jerk. I mean, and straps cut through here, my legs and my shoulders. I must have had that harness on sort of loose or something. Anyway, it was just, when I tell my story, I say, it's like falling and almost like coming to a sudden stop.
Sudden stop, yeah. Well, that chute opens, it does. You come to a sudden stop.
It really slows you down.
Yeah.
And
You're not free falling anymore.
And
Okay.
The amazing first thing you noticed is I've been used to the sound of the engine in an airplane, and
It's pretty loud.
got away from it, it got dead silence. Floating down, you had no sensation of floating down. And I dropped into a low cloud, and I heard a popping noise, and I thought maybe, well, that was just the shroud lines of the parachute maybe vibrating in the breeze or something. I looked up, and they were all tight. Hey, I said, that sounds like gunfire. In fact, I wonder if they're going to shoot us as we come down. Well, I come out from under that cloud, and I could see Sweeney hanging down there in his parachute. It looked like he was all right. And over a big river. And I found out later that the river was the Rhine River.
Okay.
And a big city that had been recently bombed. It was smoking and some fire. And I found out later that was Koblenz.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know at the time where we were or what city or nothing about it, but the ground was coming up fast. And we had received a lecture not long ago about bailing out. And they said, you look like you're going to land and freeze. Cross your legs, put your arms over your face.
Okay.
And I was headed towards a tree. And I hit that tree. Didn't hit it dead center, crashing down through the limbs, hit the ground really hard. That little old parachute didn't slow you down a heck of a lot, but I hit the ground and I was on my back, my left side, and unsnapped my harness, stood up, and I saw why the Sweeney had landed down below me there.
Okay.
I'm gonna go down there and get with him. We're gonna decide what next. And I maybe took 2 steps down towards him. Somebody started hollering back there. Some man hollering, and I turned. Hollering at me, and I turned around and looked. There was a man in a uniform with a rifle pointed at me. Motioned me to come to him. I wanted to go down. I said, I better find out what his problem is. The rifle is telling me something.
Yeah, it gives him a certain degree of authority.
Yeah. I started back up there towards him, and he was jabbering away in the foreign language. I didn't know any German to speak of, but I knew one word. And I said, "What country is this?" And he said something about Deutschland. And as closer I got to him, I saw on his helmet an emblem of a swastika.
Okay.
I knew then my comrade.
Yeah. Okay. So you got captured right off the bat. And did Sweeney get captured also?
Yeah, and I looked down there, below me there, and another German soldier had Sweeney, marching him on. They marched us on up towards above a little old building, and with her back to the side of the building, and by that time there were a bunch of German soldiers gathering up there with all kinds of weapons pointed at us, and I heard some man hollering and screaming, come around the corner of that little building, and boy, he ran up to me and pow, he hit me in the mouth with his fist. Staggered back against that building, but those soldiers, they got him away from me.
Okay. Was he like a local citizen that came up and hit you?
Yes, he'd probably been bombed.
Okay, so he's just taking his anger out.
Bad.
Yeah. Probably wasn't you blew up his house, but somebody else did.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to him. Okay. Did you remember seeing how many parachutes got out of your bomber? Were you able to see how many of them were able to get out?
No.
No.
I didn't. All I could see the 2 that went out in front of me.
Okay. So Sweeney and then
Sweeney and Michael Malnick, the
tail gunner,
tail gunner.
and then the turret gunner.
Yeah, I saw him go out. He went out first. We watched him go out.
All right. Did you later find out that everybody was able to bail out successfully?
Yes, the Germans, they picked us all up.
They got all of you?
We bailed out in a string, and they saw us coming down in the parachute.
Anybody get injured coming down to land? Any injuries?
Well, the navigator hit against a side of a railroad building and banged up his leg. Other than that,
Okay.
All the injuries were the two men that had eyesight.
Oh, okay.
They were temporarily blinded.
The tour guy and the pilot.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Stalag did you end up going to?
I ended up 4.
Okay.
Stalag Luft 4. And that's up in the northeast, in part of what is now Poland, near the Baltic Sea.
Okay.
It is just in they built that prison camp in a big pine forest.
Okay. That's a pretty far distance from the Rhine from where you were captured.
Yeah.
Pretty far distance. Okay, so that was in September 44, is that right?
September 28th.
September 28, 1944. Okay, so you were interned, and when were you liberated, and where? When and where were you liberated?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about interrogation.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about that. After they rounded you guys up.
After they had us up there above that building, they started searching us.
Okay. You keep going.
There's
Mr. Stewart? Okay. You Mr. Stewart? No, you're still yeah, I'm still interviewing Mr. Stewart's supposed to, but the problem is he got late. He got started late, so okay, I can't even do him at all now because my next one will be about like at 6:15. Did you want to come in and listen in?
Actually, no. I have been interviewing these folks for about 5 years.
This is Phil Turner. He's the other one.
And I've done about half of these guys. So I'll get with you. Talk. Evidently, you've got some kind of schedule.
Yes, there is a schedule in there. Go ahead, we'll talk.
they had my flight coveralls. They had a pocket on the leg, and in that they unzipped that pocket, and they took out I had a Boy Scout knife. They took that.
Okay.
And they had an escape kit that everybody had.
Okay.
It never got a chance to open.
It's just kind of like a survival kit thing?
Yes, it's, maps and a fake passport and stuff like that. Little tiny coffins. And I had a New Testament with a hard steel back on it. They took that. And they took my wristwatch. And the funny thing about that, they issued me a receipt for that watch.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I never saw the watch again.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I say, we all ended up in interrogation camp, and that's where we were separated. I never saw any of the rest of the crew after that.
Okay.
We were put in solitary confinement, and it was taken. They made me take off my shoes and put them out in the hall. Said, "So you want to take unpermitted leave?" They could speak some English. The next morning, they took me into the interrogator, and the guard did, and he was sitting at a desk in there, and he was very cordial. He said, "I hope you rested well last night." I was in that little cell in a wooden bunk on some straw mat and a little tile, high window. And he said, "I hope you're," I said, he said, "Yeah, would you care for a cigarette?" "No, thanks, I don't smoke." And then he reached down and opened his drawer of his desk and said, "I've got a form here, Sergeant Scott. I've got to ask you a few questions, and then you'll be on your way to a permanent prison camp with the rest of the prisoners." Then he started asking me stuff. being a radio operator, he wanted to know the call signs I used, the radio frequencies that I used. He wanted information about the organization back in the base. I said, I can't tell you none of this stuff. I only required by the rules of the Geneva Convention to tell you my name, rank, and serial number. Boy, he didn't like that. He said, guard, take him back to his room. And that went on for several days. And finally, he got me in there and he said, Sergeant Scott, you haven't cooperated with us. We've had to keep you longer here than the rest of your crew. They've been sent on to a permanent prison camp. He said, how do we know who you say you are? I said, yes, my dog tags, my identification tags, it got my name on it. He said, oh, you could have gotten that off of a dead body out here somewhere. For all we know, you're a spy. You know what we do with spies? I said, I've got a pretty good idea. He didn't like none of my answers. That's the last I saw of him. I mean, they put me on the train with the guard. I ended up in the permanent camps.
Okay. So that took almost about a week or about 4 or 5 days before
Well,
that.
something more.
Right. Did you meet up, the camp that you went to, Stalag 4, did you meet up with your other members?
Never.
Never? So they told
I
us.
was put in a different part of the camp from the American prisoners. Mainly it had American prisoners, but I was put in was British.
Okay.
I was in a room with the British.
Do you know why they segregated you?
No, I don't. I mean,
Never found out?
Maybe they didn't have, or maybe they ran out of room in the other camp.
Okay.
But I was put in a room, big, comparatively big, I guess you'd say, but it had 16 British prisoners in it,
Okay.
16 bunks.
Were they airmen, prisoners?
Yes, they were enlisted men. This was
Enlisted.
an enlisted camp.
Okay.
They kept the officers and enlisted men separated.
Yes, sir.
Now, she can tell the rest of my war story.
All right.
She knows it as well as I do.
As well as you did. But she wasn't there. But she's heard it
Yeah,
Okay.
a few times.
a few times. Okay.
Are you still talking?
Yeah, well, I'm telling that war story. But
Okay.
he's about heard enough, I think.
I think so.
So you made it to the POW camp, and then did the Russians liberate you, or did the Germans move you before the Russians got there? Tell me about that.
Neither one of them. The British
Neither one.
liberated, British Army.
Okay.
I mean, well, we were on the march.
Okay. The Germans were marching you back into Germany because they didn't.
No, back towards the west to get away from the Russian army.
Okay. Right.
And so, well, after about February the 6th of 45, I was on the march. The camp was evacuated.
Okay.
They didn't want to get overrun by the Russian army.
Okay.
And so from then on, I was on the march with one huge column of prisoners,
Okay.
3 abreast, the guards facing along on the right. And we first night spent out in the open, out and slept on the ground. But most of the time they would stop us in barns. There was a lot of farmers had barns, farms
Okay.
up there in northern Germany, and so being out of the weather, if I was real lucky, I could, be able to get up in the loft or on some straw or something like that, but not very often. I have slept on the farm equipment, on wood piles, I even slept in the stall on a horse one time.
Okay.
But
How many days did it take y'all to march it?
well,
Do you remember?
we marched from February. Well,
This would be February 45.
yeah, I'll say 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, because there was February, March, April, and the 2nd of May we got liberated.
Okay. And where were you when that happened?
When I got liberated,
Yes, sir.
we were up in the northeastern part of Germany. The Allied armies was getting close, coming from the west, and so the Germans put us on the march again, and up there, they in the northeastern part of Germany, not far from Denmark. And the British Army liberated us.
Okay.
up there.
And that was
I
second.
mean, most of the prisoners, and they were still in the camp, Patton liberated them.
Okay.
But those of us that were out on the march,
Okay.
Anyway,
So pretty shortly after that, you got on a Liberty ship, and then
yeah,
shipped you
well, I
back to the
ended
States.
up in Camp Lucky Strike at the
Okay.
Havre,
Alrighty.
and on a Liberty ship, right?
Okay. But that Camp Lucky Strike was kind of like the holding area.
Yes.
Start bringing
I
everybody
think I
in.
spent about 2 weeks there waiting to get on the boat,
Okay.
and
Recuperating.
they crammed us on the boat.
All right.
I mean, they put 3 of us who were assigned to the one bunk. And off nights, you slept up on the deck.
Okay. Just took turns.
We were going home.
Oh, let me ask you a question about on that march, that your POW march, when you were marching back, was your unit was your particular group strafed by aircraft? Was that your group or was that somebody else's?
That was somebody else's, but I got a little story.
Yes, sir.
We were headed up northeast and towards Denmark, and we came to the Elbe River.
Okay.
And the German guards would want to get us across so we could go further north. So at that time, this was probably in April of '45, and the Allied fighters were strafing all the trains and all the boats on the,
Okay.
and so this is a river that they strafed the boats, and but so the German guards, they did.